All right, we're going to give these Fullway tires another chance here. I believe Fullway HP108s, if I'm not mistaken. It'll be correct in the title, and if it's incorrect, it'll be up on the screen here. I previously installed them on the Eclipse a while back, and I made a video about them, about how they were just basically absolutely trash. I got one left here. It's been on the rear the whole time. And, you know, it's not too bad on tread. I don't know the exact miles. If I can figure it out based on the last video posted in this one, I'll put it up. But on the front, they wore out in just a few thousand miles. Again, I'll put that up on the screen if I can calculate it based off the videos. Also, I'm sure I stated it in the previous video. I'll go ahead and link in the description of that video if you want to check it out. I had several complaints about those tires, but the main takeaway, well, there was two really. They wore out super fast, and they're only a one ply, so I had to overinflate them because the sidewall down here was squishing real bad to where my wheel here was way too close to the pavement. And I was afraid that, you know, I'd hit a little bump and I was going to bend my brand new wheels there. So that was an issue for me. This is a 3,200 pound car here. Actually, for the exact same reason I bought them for the Eclipse is the same reason got them on the RSX here. But I got a lot of comments in that video. Some people were saying that they've had them and not had any issues. I commented in that video, you know, I drive pretty spirited, so that may be why. But I was in a pinch where I needed to get tires on this thing, and I keep getting a deal through eBay every year they send me where they, not only are these things super cheap because they're Chinese tires, but they send me a deal every year. It's not only free shipping, but also free install. So I think I got like $250 in these maybe, and they're installed for free and shipped to the installer and all that. So I was thinking, hey, with the lighter car and a taller profile tire, I shouldn't have to worry about the squish getting too low, bending the wheels there, the rim, whatever you want to call it. Plus, I don't really care about those. I mean, I'd prefer them not to be bent, right? But they're pretty beat up. And hopefully they last longer because it's a lighter car. Now, the Eclipse did, this is the real reason I'm giving them another chance. I would never put them on a car this heavy again, because again, or at least with not that low a profile tire, because again, the sidewall being a one ply, it squishes just too much for my comfort. I'm too afraid of hitting a little bump or pothole in the road and bending my wheel there. On a higher profile tire, you know, I'm sure it'd be fine. Although I have had some reports, not some reports to me directly, but in researching those tires, I've seen some reports of blowouts on the highway, and I think that's because of that really weak one ply sidewall. So I wouldn't really recommend them still just for that, but if you're in a pinch like I am, you know, maybe they'll get you through. So we're going to try them on the RSX. The Eclipse needed an alignment when I had them on there, so I was like, well, maybe that's part of the reason they wore down so fast. I still think they wore extremely prematurely. Again, I'll link that video in the description if you want to see that, see what we were looking at there, go over the miles and all that. So hopefully they'll last a bit longer on the RSX. It does need ball joints. I'm going to be doing that really soon, so I'm not going to put too many miles on them, probably no more than 100 or 2 until I get those ball joints fixed. And then if it needs an alignment after that, if it doesn't go straight down the road, if the steering wheel isn't straight, anything like that, then I'll get it aligned to make sure, you know, they're perfectly aligned. There's no front end issues there from the get-go. And at some point next year, I will post an update video and see if they fare any better on the RSX here. If any of you guys are actually following the RSX build, most everyone's here for the Eclipse for some reason. Now we got all 4 matching wheels, because they did have like a base RSX wheel on there for some reason, and I got to monitor that. But so far, the one I received with the car that had the flat tire on it, it's holding air. I cleaned it off there because there was a bunch of black gunk around the inside on this one, I assume from being stored in a barn. But anyways, you can see those scratch marks that either somebody tried to run too big a caliper, which I doubt, because this thing's never seen any love in its life by the looks of it. I think the freaking wheel fell off and it went until they stopped. So I'm hoping this thing holds air. The tire shop didn't say anything. They said it looks all right. I thought it looked all right. So, fucking shit over. hopefully that's going to hold air for us. So all 4 of them match now. And also, again, for the RSX guys who care, I went 1 profile, 1 series, whatever you want to call it, lower. This did have 55 series tires on it. I went a little lower on the sidewall there to a 50. So not only should that help in the handling department a little bit, because it'll be less sidewall flex, especially with these freaking 1-plies, but that's actually going to change your gear ratio a little, so the speedometer will be off probably 3, maybe 4 miles an hour. But it's reducing the gear ratio, or whatever the proper term, reducing, increasing, whatever. It makes the gears a little bit short. So the speedo will be off by like 3-4 miles an hour, but that shorter gear ratio is going to help this thing get off the line faster. That was one thing I always thought about the automatic, which I didn't realize was an issue until I got this one. You know, the 5-speed takes off no problem, but apparently the auto has a much taller first gear, so when you punch this thing from a stop, it takes it a second to get going, which really sucks. So hopefully that lower profile there, changing the gear ratio slightly, will help it take off a little bit quicker. And you might think, like I used to, you know, oh, it's a shorter, smaller tire, so it should weigh less too. Oddly, for some reason, because I always monitor the tire weights and I try to go with, you know, brands that are lighter weight and stuff to free up, you know, the rotational mass to help cars accelerate faster, which does work, by the way. I'll have to have a video on that eventually. But usually, if you only go down 1 series, for some reason, the tires weigh the same. It doesn't make any sense to me. I couldn't tell you why. But typically, if you go from a 60 series down to 55, they give the same freaking weight. If nothing else has changed about the size, you go from a 55 to a 50 like we did here. Usually they're the same weight. I couldn't explain it to you, but unfortunately, at least in most cases, there's not really a weight reduction by doing this. But if we did lose half a pound per tire by going down, that would be awesome. But I can't find weight specs on these because, you know, they're like no-name Chinese tires. So my typical go-tos, Discount Tire and Tire Rack, which lists the tire weights. Obviously, they don't carry these, so I cannot check the weights on them. Anyways, that'll do it for this one. So like I said, sometime next year we'll have a follow-up on the tires. Again, link in the description for the review of them on the Eclipse. For the Eclipse guys, eventually got something going on here. We'll have videos. I'm going to replace this freaking trunk shocks. It's been driving me crazy. Cold air intake. I need to do the O2 sensor on this. We're going to patch up the exhaust leak. Stay tuned for that on the RSX. Like I said, I got ball joints, and I'm probably going to play with the exhaust and the intake. It's just all budget driven, so you guys got to give me time. But thanks for stopping by and checking this one out today. I really appreciate it, guys, and I hope to catch you on the next one.